Welcome to the Future Successors podcast where the future is now. Today we have Will Dean, OTE Fan Experience and Community Engagement Manager. Hey, welcome, Will.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Future Successors, you do a lot of work with us. The OTE connection, you're actually my mentor. That's a great relationship there. But, Future Successors, let's start with success. What is your definition of success?
For me, I think success is something that is about not just like small goals, it's about your overall happiness in the workplace, outside of it. And for me, what gives me the most happiness in both areas is contributing to others. So if I'm, contributing to the happiness of my family at home, my friends, and at the workplace, if I'm, giving back to the fans, my community here in the city of Atlanta, then for me that's success. And obviously that evolves over time, but overall, I think at every stage of your career, um, those are the most important points for me.
Starting off in Atlanta, at the Atlanta International School, a private school here in Atlanta, just based upon everything that you have done from there to interning at the gathering spot to now to OTE, just tell me that extra sauce beyond hard work that was needed to get you to where you are today.
I think hard work is definitely that number one thing. But as you said,
Yes.
hard work, you need um, a little something extra to get you where you
Hmm.
need to be. So I think in my personal experience, I certainly benefited from some really incredible mentors. So from Ryan Wilson at the Gathering Spot, giving me my first job, to Mr. John Grant at the Celebration Bowl and ESPN events.
Yes.
Um, Working with him on across two separate stints at ESPN events, and then now working with Anna Karifa Johnson, who I first worked under as an intern, and then came back full time. Those are the people and the relationships that also drive me to work hard. Because hard work, I think, some people, yeah, it comes to them 100% natural. I
Yes.
think, though, the people who, at least in my experience, have the most success and driving this forward is that they're working hard for their teammates, for their coaches, their boss, their friends. And in my case, yeah, these mentors really drove me and helped me get to where I am today.
With success and achievement comes ups and downs. You've been through a lot, I'm pretty sure, because everybody with success comes ups and downs and things like that. But tell me a moment where you were resilient and you stayed with it, you stuck it through, and you just seen the operation go through, and whether that was a relationship with God, whether they calling on your mentor, your mom, just tell me a moment where you was very resilient.
So I would say one of the kind of maybe lowest points that I experienced was my freshman year of college. That first semester, I'm on top of the world. I'm playing
Yeah.
college soccer. You're just starting college. These are
Yeah.
the beginning of the best days of your life. And then after the first two games of preseason, I started both. I'm like, wow, like this is incredible. I'm going to the very top. And then I got a major concussion in practice that at the time didn't seem so major.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of tried to play through it, and then it got worse. I went to my first day of class, and everything was fuzzy, and lights are hurting, and I'm
Wow.
like, oh yikes, this I might be in a bad spot. And then unfortunately, it sort of never got better for, or at least not for several weeks, and I was falling behind in all my coursework, and I wasn't able to play. I sat on the sidelines watching my friends and teammates improving their game and coming together, and it was definitely a lonely experience at times. It eventually concluded with my having to take a medical leave of absence, which essentially means, due to a medical situation, you have to drop out for that semester.
Uh-huh.
And so coming back just before Halloween, that first semester of college, feels like the worst possible failure you could have. Obviously, I knew a medical leave of absence is different from dropping out, but
Uh-huh.
and that I'd be back in January. But at the time, it felt like I just totally failed college at the first hurdle, and that was really really difficult. But when I came home, I'd had by then like 2 months to kind of slowly recover, but wasn't quite there. when I did get home, I spent 2 weeks genuinely doing nothing.
Yeah.
Dark room, go on some walks, stay off the phone, all those different things that they teach you to do for concussion recovery. And after those 2 weeks, I did finally recover. And 2 weeks on top of 2 months, you would hope
Yeah.
you'd get there eventually. But then I kind of had a choice. I can, what on earth do I do with my time? All of my friends are in college. I only had, one or two close ones that were still in the city of Atlanta. It was a really difficult moment. But luckily, I spoke with my parents and my dad's good friend, John Grant. Basically let him know that, well, I've got a team of three essentially at a time.
Hmm.
I could use the help, and I was like, dope, I'm all in. And so, yeah, Mr. John Grant gave me the tremendous opportunity to go and work for the Celebration Bowl. And in all honesty, I knew very, very little about HBCU football, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I had, I think, about 3 to 6 weeks before the actual Celebration Bowl kicked off. And so that's like peak event, like
Uh-huh.
heat of the moment
Yeah.
times. And so I just sort of like, instead of, yeah, sitting at home, not knowing what to do, just waiting for January to come back, yeah, I took that opportunity, ran with it, and learned so much from Mr. John Grant, from Shawanda, from that whole team, Zach. It was, yeah, an incredible opportunity, and it translated then to a follow up internship the next summer. And I sort of went from, again, that hard work. You got to be comfortable, just setting up tents and moving trash cans and doing all the tiny little bitty
Mhm.
things that make an operation run. But then when I was asked back that next summer, then I got to kind of take on more ownership of different projects. I wrote our
Mhm.
newsletter. I interviewed board members. Mr. Grant was nice enough to even include me in certain board meetings and
Yes.
stuff, and see what all the different pieces that came together to make sports business of that magnitude work. And so essentially, this is a very long-winded story, but um, I went from feeling like a college dropout to essentially getting that first step in the sports world where it kind of affirmed that this is what I want to do. I was already sports communication major at the time, but I wasn't really sure what that meant or where I was going. And that
Mhm.
sort of gave me that first look into how intense working in sports is, but
Mhm.
also how much of an impact it can have on people. Seeing like the Battle of the Bands after the Celebration Bowl, seeing like, yeah, just everything about it. It was so beautiful to see people coming together in my city, the impact that sports had on them. And so I knew then coming back that next summer, preparing for the MEXWAC Challenge, that that was something I wanted to be a part of. And while obviously I don't work in
Yeah.
college football anymore, it was just a tremendous part of my journey and something that I carry with me to this day for sure. So yeah, started off pretty bad, but but ended on a high.
Great to see you get through that challenge of your headaches and your concussion to the Celebration Bowl to your internship with John and him helping you to be potentially at OTE like
Yeah.
now how you are today. But just talk about the that new relationship you had with John and how that pushed you past just not, oh, we're just here, I'm doing it on my own. The village mindset. It takes just more than just you. Just talk about how that new relationship or making new relationship could help you in the business world or any field that you want to be in.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of super impressive, influential, and powerful people in the city of Atlanta. We're
Mhm.
a cultural and economic hub here in the Southeast. So there's a very good chance that over the course of your journey and life, if you're in the city, you're going to run into some pretty incredible people who have the potential
Mhm.
to have a big impact on your life. But I
Yes.
think that potential is only ever activated by you nurturing that relationship, by you proving yourself to those people.
Mhm.
Um, I talked to like Anna and stuff before. I wouldn't be where I am today
Mhm.
just because, oh yeah, he had a internship, he had B experience elsewhere. It was about basically really being committed to proving yourself and
Mm-hmm.
nurturing these relationships. So, um, yeah, I think that those relationships made me who I am today, and played a huge part in my journey.
Yes, you're. This is a little bit off topic, but you're also a co-founder of Wonder Boy Clothing, and you and your friend Will, the other Will,
Hmm.
Will Smith. Just talk about that relationship that you have with your friends that could potentially push you and make you a better person, and just you guys' relationship with Wonder Boy Clothing and how that came about and where that came from, just the background.
Yeah, yeah. So Will is definitely one of my best friends, and um, yeah, that relationship grew tremendously during our time starting that
Mhm.
company. So the reason why we ended up diving into that project was essentially COVID hit 2020. I was a sophomore, Will was a junior, and so we were both forced to come home for the end of that semester and then the following semester as well. So we were both college athletes. He was
Mhm.
playing tennis at the University of Miami. I was playing
Wow.
soccer at Emerson College. And we kind of, again, were faced with a situation where it's like you have a choice. Do you
Mhm.
kind of sit around and wait for something to happen, or do you find something you're passionate about and chase it? So during that time, Will came to me with this idea. He was just started during his time in Miami, learning more about fashion. Got a little pressure from his friends that he need to up his game.
Yeah.
But as he started to learn more about it, he realized there was this tremendous like push for creativity and art based clothing in streetwear, but there was a lot of times a lack of substance behind that art. What was the story? And so you would ask someone, yeah, about, oh, that's a really dope T-shirt. It's
What
got a
is?
tiger and
Uh,
some, a different language writing on it.
mhm.
Okay, what does it mean? And no one can ever tell you. And so our thought was like, what if we started a company that had this amazing art that supported artists locally and elsewhere. A lot of times that ended up being my sister, who's now studying art at SMU and doing a great job. But yeah, supporting local artists and telling stories through
Mhm.
fashion. And so that's what we set out to do. We told some really amazing stories. The first of which through our origin collection was that of Chadwick Boseman and his,
Mhm.
secret battle with cancer, the way that he approached his life,
Yeah.
the example he set for others was second to none, certainly. So, yeah, we created this tribute piece. We studied his life um, to a ridiculous amount of detail. We created
Yeah.
an awesome short kind of film detailing sort of his sacrifice and everything. I wrote an article as well. And then we created, yes, this art piece in this collection that then we were selling. And we donated a percentage of our revenue from that to the American Cancer Society. Yeah.
Okay.
So, um, yeah, it was a really awesome kind of way to bring a lot of different things together, journalism, film, fashion, and tell really meaningful stories. So that's what we decided to do. It has since been something that we've taken a extended pause on as we kind of continue in our own careers elsewhere.
Mhm.
But it was an amazing experience for me, and I would encourage any young person if they get the opportunity to do something entrepreneurial that they take that opportunity because it's a lot of fun. Again, keep harping on hard work. One of the ways that we raised money actually was by going into local golf courses across the
Mhm.
city, and we dive into the bushes and pull golf balls from Capital City, from Bobby Jones,
Yeah.
from we all went all the way out to Athens as well,
Wow.
Chastain Park, and yeah, we just dove into the bushes and creeks and whatnot and collected hundreds and hundreds, well, I think maybe even the thousands of golf balls. We took those back to Will's house, filled up these tubs with bleach and all the other cleaning supplies. Got these like giant rubber gloves and hand scrubbed each ball to then so we cleaned them, washed them up, and put them in like a clean bin and then we put it back in the back of his car, went back to those those golf clubs and those parks around the city,
Yeah.
and sold them out of the back of his car to people that are going in to play. So again, honestly, not sure that I would recommend it as as a
Very time consuming.
raising sort of operation. It didn't raise an amazing amount of money, but it was awesome. It was a great experience. It it really encouraged us to again just put that in that extra grind, whatever it took to get that first order, and then learn about that business, working with screen printers, learning about screen printing versus ETG and different wholesale providers, having that pressure of how Lord knows how many boxes sitting in your basement. It was like we got to sell this stuff, and
Yeah.
all of that. It was amazing. So, anyways, I honestly could talk about that for ages, but
Yeah.
it was a really kind of fundamental experience for me that definitely got me to where I am today.
Man, we need some merch, man. We need some Wonderboy Quarter merch, man. We need
Yeah,
some merch.
definitely
Uh,
work on that.
but yeah, I feel like everybody needs that relationship, that best friend relationship, somebody they can count on, rely on to push them to different places because you never want to get comfortable. You always want to expand your horizon, look at things different, and just take different roles. You never want to just be comfortable. You need to be uncomfortable sometimes to grow. And
Absolutely.
so,
And was definitely one of those people, as you said. I now realize I cut a little bit
yeah.
off of your original question, but
Hmm.
I would say that, as I kind of said, a lot of times your mentors are the people that really push you in some ways because you respect them, you want to prove yourself to them, you want to support them and reflect the model that they've set for you as well. But I think you can get the same out. Well, I know that you can get the same out of that as well from your peers.
Hmm.
So whether that's your friends, whether that's your little brother, that's your coworkers, I get a lot out of that when I know that I'm working with someone who's got that dog in them as well, and that's gonna push you. And those mornings when you don't really want to get up at 8 a.m. to
Hmm.
go sell more golf balls to raise money, or you don't want to have to like sit down for the next 6 hours with your sister talking like design concepts and stuff. Like when you have someone else that is going to push you in the same way that and hold you to that standard you want to hold for yourself. It's amazing, and I get that from Will. I get that from Ronnie now at OTE, Jewel, and Connor. You've spoken with. I think that's an amazing part of our culture now is that we push each other in a similar way.
Now there's always a end goal to every career, what you're doing with Wonderboy clothing, whether that's OTE with family or anything like that. But what is the championship? What does Will want to do? What is Will's championships? What does he have going on in his career field, and what do he feel like a championship is to him?
So for me, uh, I'm very like project oriented in my
Hmm.
life, I think, and I see this job and this league in itself as a project. So I think a championship for me would be to see OTE in, let's say, year 5, year 10, whatever that may be,
Hmm.
um, reaching a point where every single game day you've got 1,200, 1,400 fans packed
Mm.
in and so happy and having life-changing experiences every time they come to a game. And so when that fan experience gets to that point, and I would say also, so my job is fan experience and community engagement. So
Yes.
fan experience, I think the championship for me would be a point where when I feel like our game day fan experience has hit, you know, absolute peak where every single person in the arena is getting that energy from each other, and we've created that culture on an even more consistent basis. And sorry, we've gone a long way to get there. But then I would also say on the community engagement side, I want a championship would be for us to have taken our relationships with different nonprofits to the next level and being
Hmm.
to a point where we can do different programming, stuff like this podcast, even hosting y'all at
Yes.
this arena. This is the first time we've ever done this. So for me, a championship would be doing even more stuff like this, and creating more relationships and more of an impact in the cities. So I think that's maybe not as quantifiable as you may like, but every once in a while you get a moment when in a season, even when you look up and you're like, okay, like I actually something's happening right now,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully that moment will come, whenever it is. It's like, wow, we've really hit, you know, that cohesive feeling and that impact on the city that we're looking for.
That's that selfless mindset, man. You're not selfish at all. You're worried about the fan experiences, and everything is not just about you. It's about how you affect other people, and that's a good mindset to have, man. Thank you, Will. Thank you for being here, man. That's our time for today. We're at the Future Successors podcast, where the future is now. Thank you, Will, for coming. This is my mentor. This is my guy. But thank you, man.